Gunses by Penstroke. Variance 3. Blessed. The basement stank of old cedar and musk, but none in attendance had complained. It was humble, but it was their sanctuary away from the prying eyes of the public, and even their friends and family. None would understand their purpose, all too blinded by the regime of indoctrination that watched over Equestria every second of every day. Silent Shepherd didn't care, however. The belief of their members was stout, and they would not be swayed, and slowly their numbers would grow as more and more ponies questioned the status quo. He tapped his hoof against the podium. A few dozen ponies in attendance fell silent. The small basement beneath Silent Shepherd's bakery was not much of a church to their queen, but he took care to make most of the space. "For the night eternal," Silent Shepherd said to his flock. "For Equestria's true queen," the ponies replied, before they sat down low on the simple pews that accompanied most of the floor space. "Welcome again, brothers and sisters, as we come to speak and hold in our hearts Equestria's one and true queen," Shepherd said with a smile as he spoke to the congregation. "Yes, we come to commune together to speak of her wisdom, her strength and beauty. We, who are her blessed children, every pony, feel the blessing and let it manifest." Silent Shepherd closed his eyes, rolled his shoulders, and felt a shiver crawl up his spine. When he opened his eyes again, they changed to almost a luminescent turquoise. Though the pupils were still round, every other pony did the same, all of them soon sharing the same eye color. "Yes," Silent Shepherd said with a smile. "Yes, we are all her children here, for we all feel the rekindling of her sacred blessing. The time will come again for the beauty of eternal night. But next time we must hold our true queen in the highest regard. It was our weakness, it was our faults that disappointed her. It was us who drove to return this kingdom to the rule of unworthy sisters. It was our failure that led her to take away her most sacred of blessings. Yet she did not forsake us. She only wished for us to mature, to once more grow ready for an eternal rule in the eternal night." "For Equestria's true queen," the congregation said again, muttering as if the ending to a prayer. "And our queen prepares for her return to power by continuing to play innocent, to hide in plain sight of our enemies while sending us, her faithful, to her true wisdom. Behold, the gospel of our queen as released this very day." Silent Shepherd reached within his podium, his hoof grasping and lifting up a thick paper square. It was a record sleeve. The front was decorated with a skeletal alicorn walking on what appeared to be the surface of the moon. Silent Shepherd smiled as he turned the album silently, so that all could clearly see the cover. "Yes, the new gospel has been released. Our queen and closest acolytes speak once more to us through the subtle interpretation of the lyrics and melodies. This is why we gather here today, to begin our most sacred duty. Now let our queen's words be played, and let us hear her sweet voice as she speaks to us as a queen, as mother, as goddess." "For Equestria's true queen," the congregation repeated as a few members stood. The album was taken from the Silent Shepherd. The final record was carefully removed and placed on a simple, spring-driven record player. The arm was cranked, the needle was placed, and the horn was turned towards the congregation. Soon, after a few moments of popping and scratching, the music began. Hard drums, driving guitar, subtle choral voices, and other tones mixed together into a style that the band, Nightmare, became famous for. The congregation bowed their heads to the beat. They shut their eyes and silently sat listening to the album. No words were shared between the songs. The brief, repetitive between the tracks was taken as a moment of silence of meditation. Silent Shepherd himself remained at his podium, simply observing his brothers and sisters with a subtle smile. Surely, this album would be the one where their queen would reveal her plan for finally overtaking Equestria once more. The album gave them a hint that they would perhaps launch their attack from the place of their queen's long imprisonment, the moon. Then came a slam, which caused the needle on the record to slip. Eyes opened around the room. Some looked to the record player, others looked to Silent Shepherd. His eyes were focused on the stairwell that led down to their hidden sanctuary. The slam came again. Bright sunlight flooded the stairwell. Silent Shepherd opened his mouth to shout. warned his brothers and sisters, but it all came too late. A flashing blue and red spell zoomed down the staircase, and the moment it lit the floor, this room was flooded with a blinding light and an ear-piercing bang! "They're bringing them out! Get the camera ready!" She had pad and pencil and magic, jotting down the notes at a mile a minute. Yet there were no camouflages occurring next to her. Eyebrow twisted in irritation before she brought a hook to her lip and blew a loud, piercing whistle. "What? I'm awake! Where am I?" The photographer stammered, legs twisting as he glanced around. "Sutter, focus! Police raid! Relapsers! Take pictures! Make money! Make headlights! Go!" The silent gray Pegasus shuddered, groaned, nudging up the neck mount that held his camera, lowering his head to the eye place. "Right. One of your sources actually turned out to be legit. Are you sure I'm still not dreaming?" "Save the comedy for your stand-up classes," Byline Bloom said as she pressed herself against the police barricade. Her more energetic mood, compared to Shutter, was reflected in her more vibrant colors. Her yellow coat almost blended with the chest-high, yellow magical barriers being protected by unicorn officers, keeping the crime scene secure. Her tulip mane was pulled back in a ponytail, ensuring not a single hair would get in the way of her eyes. She made a note for each relapser that came out the door. There was one after another, and whenever it seemed to stop, but it was a delay in the stream. Most of the ponies didn't recognize, but she could spot a few that were well known enough in the area. The familiar ones had their faces on advertisements, or were in the papers for one reason or the other. It was a diverse group, only the common thread between them being their excellence in their individual fields and careers. You couldn't be a relapser, at least not yet, unless you had originally been infected, and you were only infected if you were one of the best at something. Each pony arrested was properly bound. Hose were cuffed, magic was blocked, wings were bound to ensure almost zero chance to escape. The last approximately 3 dozen was the pony who owned a bakery that was above the basement. He had a cardboard standee of himself, welcoming customers in, though the standee looked a lot happier than the real pony was at the moment. "So, do we just chase police here? Because I don't count dumb luck and siren chasing as a legitimate news source." "Could you spare me your skepticism after we're done?" Byline asked, not looking from her notebook. Sherry took a photo of all the arrested ponies lined up on the street before lowering his camera. "Nope, you pulled me out of bed. You get skepticism at full blast." "My friend told me a customer he was waiting on at the cafe today wouldn't stop complaining about music." Byline paused from her note writing to glance at Shutter. "Someone in the mayor's building was blaring music every Friday for hours on end for the past 2 months. The same music, same band, at the same time, like clockwork. The building manager couldn't do anything about it because it wasn't part of the apartment tenants." "So, Manhattan's a noisy city. What made you think it was a good tip?" Byline smiled, levitating her pencil to tap Shutter's camera before pointing back at the crime scene. "It was a good tip because of which band the mayor said was being blared. I tracked her down at the restaurant tonight, got the whole story. It was going to be perfect. We would catch these relapsers sneaking in and out of the basement. It would have been a big story. We would have broken this open before the police even knew." "But I guess that mayor filed a noise complaint," Byline said as he glared at the nearest officer. Sarah brought his camera back up. He was looking through the viewfinder in search of another picture. "Oh yes, what a horrible police department we have. They're actually doing their jobs. Those monsters." "I thought I was getting skepticism, not sarcasm." Sarah smiled. "It's a combo player of the consequences of dragging me out in the middle of the night, and there's more to come." "Fine, just keep taking pictures," Byline said as he went back to scribbling on her notepad. "We're the only reporters here. This is exclusive. I want good pictures." Shutter rolled his eyes as he kept taking pictures. "This isn't going to be some exclusive. The police will make a statement, will provide pictures, and every paper in Equestria will be running it before the day is out. This is just another relapser cell." "No, I can feel it. Something's going to happen here," Byline hissed. "Make a hole!" A third voice bellowed from behind the pair. Byline, like some of the other onlookers, glanced back, but she was the only one to smile. A pony approaching the police barrier. It was the Manhattan police siren. She had seen him long enough in person and through the pictures to be able to recognize him, even blocks away. Light blue coat, age-white mane and mustache, and gray trench coat. Swayed by a pair of Earth Pony officers, and he did not all look happy. It was the perfect time to ask some questions. "Chief Siren! Chief Siren!" she said, scrambling away from the police barricade and towards the approaching chief. Byline Blue, Manhattan Gazette. Do you have any comments on the large bust of relapsers? Do you think there are any more groups in the city? Has there been any news on a permanent cure for Canterlot? Has there been any reports of the curse spreading beyond the original affected? Chief Siren visibly bristled. Looked back to one of the officers escorting him. He didn't hush his comment. Didn't escape Byline's ears. How'd these vultures get here so early? Byline Bloom just smiled, raising his voice a little to ensure he had the chief's attention. A good reporter always has their sources.
We're getting damn lucky,
Chief Siren said. New guard officers maintaining the yellow barrier began opening a hole as the chief got closer.
Look, we're making no commitments at this time. An official statement will be released in the morning, but I'll tell you what. If you just sit outside the police line without giving me a reason to arrest your flank, your luck might just pay off.
How so? Byline tried to follow the chief through the barrier, but one of the officers accompanying him made sure he stayed outside, while he stepped closer to the corner street.
Because you'll get pictures. I promised a lot of ponies weren't going to get taken, so I didn't see you. You didn't see me. You better leave my name out of your article.
With that, Chief Siren turned his back on Byline, trying to be seen as the hole in the police barrier closed.
What do you think he meant by that?
Sarah asked. I don't know. Byline began scanning the scene. There was obviously something there they could take a picture of, something that would be excluded or minimized in the official report. But what? Was one of the realizers an important pony? Was there something significant about the location? Was there an implication that the realizer situation was going to get much worse after tonight? Byline. What? I'm trying to see what Chief Siren was talking about. She glanced at Shutter, but found he wasn't looking at her. He had his camera to his face, pointing it skyward as he snapped pictures about as fast as his camera would allow. He even reached the end of his film, causing the curves, and quickly scrambled to replace the cartridge. So he then that Byline looked skyward to her herself, eyes looking on a set of winged figures silhouetted by the ever-glowing lights of Manhattan's skyline. 4 Pegasi officers were flying in tight formation, what looked like to be a cloud. It was no fluffy cumulus. It was a writhing, star-speckled clump from miasma, one to begin to swirl and take a more distinct shape as it made its final descent towards the crime scene. My declined cloud was near the ground. It solidified into a tall, slender, flesh-and-blood alicorn. Everybody back at the paper is going to flip, Byline said with a wide smile as he began to write as quickly as he could. It was Nick's. There was no doubt about it. The coat, key mark, and there wasn't another alicorn in Equestria sporting Nick's current look. She had several piercings in her ear and one bar in her nose. Her eyes were accented with a heavy dose of eyeliner and eyeshadow. Her mane was trimmed very short. It almost looked like there was fire swirling in her head, especially in comparison to her tail, which was still long and flowy. What's she doing here? Sir asked as he finished reloading his camera and resumed taking pictures. Next was speaking with Chief Siren, eyes drifting over to the arrested ponies on occasion. This is probably the biggest relapser bust we've ever seen in Manhattan, and she's on tour with her band in the city. Think about it. Manhattan Central will be overwhelmed taking care of all these relapsers at once. Someone called in a favor to get her help, Byline said, words almost mimicking the notes that she was writing. Theories flowed from pencil like water from a spigot. Byline, stop writing and look, Sarah said, elbowing her in the side. I think she's treating them. She looked up from her pad, pencil pausing as her eyes watched what was playing out before her. Everything they heard about the relapser treatment, and said it took regular unicorn doctors days to cleanse a pony, and another week of recovery after that before the victim was back to normal. Nix was simply washing her tail over the arrested ponies. Some were calling out to her, pleading to her like children to a parent. But she continued her work with cold indifference. One of the arrested was particularly loud, screaming at the top of his lungs. He was the one the police had brought out last. The owner of the bakery above the basement with the group police. Please, Queen Goddess, have we not been loyal? Have we not been deserved as your sacred goddess will describes? We are your children a nightmare. We live only to serve. If we have failed you, we only ask for a chance to redeem ourselves. Please, release us from these bindings. We'll begin a coup right here. With my congregation at our side, we can overwhelm these blind sun lovers and retreat to your glorious castle. Please! His words were silenced as Nix's tales enveloped him. All the arrested were now lying unconscious in the street. They were motionless as the dead, but police officers were going through and checking the life signs of each one. Byline could only assume that since no one was panicking, none of them had been killed by the procedure. Nix moved back to Death Siren, speaking with him as her Pegasus escort prepared to take flight. She's already done? Sarah said. She could cure a relapser that quickly. Then why doesn't she just fly around to the hospitals and cure everyone herself? If her cure worked, there wouldn't be relapsers at all. Byline says he made notes of everything he had seen. This is gold. Pure repair gold. Or at least silver. No, gold would be why getting an interview. Unless you get that. Byline paused a moment. Some tiny voice in her head, warning her against the idea. She chose not to listen. Nick Sparkle! Princess Nick Sparkle! Sarah Flint sensed the crowd, and police, and Nix herself looked over at Byline. What you doing? The chief said we needed to be quiet. Like I'm gonna listen to what he says. Byline snapped at Sarah before putting her hoof into the air, waving it like a filly, trying to get her teacher's attention. Nick Sparkle, I'm Byline Blue in the Manhattan Gazette. Just a few minutes of your time, please. Nix turned to look at Chief Siren. The chief put up a hoof defensively, saying something to the alicorn. She said something back, and they ended up exchanging words for a minute before Nix visibly sighed. As he turned and started walking towards the police line. I'm only going to warn you once, Nix said as he once closer to Byline. You ask a question I don't like. I'm taking your film and crushing the camera. Deal, Byline said, paying no mind to the look of horror that formed on Charis's face. Now, did you just treat relapsers here? Yes. Has there been any developments in a permanent cure for the children of nightmares possessing? No. Byline nodded her head. No surprises there. The Carolot researchers would make a big announcement if they made any real progress. Is Carolot still working on a cure? Yes. Again, no real surprise there, but that was fine. Byline knew what she was doing. She was fielding easy questions. She lulled Nix into a false sense of security before laying out a real question. Is there a reason why you don't help with the research? I do help. Byline paused, stumbling in a rapid-fire chain of questions. You do help? I help, but not by not being there. It took her brain a moment to process the words, but Byline smiled and nodded. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. Glad I can be interesting. You done? Nope, not by a long shot. Nix frowned, lowering her head a little so she could be closer to Byline's eye level. I can't be out here all night. You get one more question. But one. Nix repeated as she stood back up to her full height. Byline opened her mouth to protest, but then shut it as she began flipping through her notebook. One question? One question? She had dozens of questions. How could she pick just one to ask? She licked her lips, glancing between her notepad and Nix, and stuttered. Her mind began to latch onto an idea. The ultimate question. The one she had been toying with ever since she began to learn about the realizer situation. Nix, is there any connection with the fact that your mother was identified among the first relapsers shortly after your band sold its first album, and that you had moved out of the castle? There was dead silence. Nix just stared at Byline, her wings extended. The sight of an alicorn with her wings out caused many of the onlookers near Byline to quickly step back, as if she was going at the ground zero for a magical explosion. Sutter was clenching his camera to his chest, fearing for its safety as it was his own son. Most reporters know not to ask me about my mother, Nix said. I don't like being accused. Byline firmly shook her head. I'm not accusing. I don't think you caused anything, but I do think you were affected. The silence resumed. Some police officers were creeping closer, trying to hold Nix back. But then Nix began closing her wings. A tiny smile cracked onto her face. She leaned in close, whispering so only Byline could hear. I'm staring at the rising Phoenix Hotel downtown until 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. We'll need to leave Great Rain for my evening concert. As for me, I give them the phrase lumberjack snowflake. They'll let you up to my room. If what you just said is your actual belief, then an interview with you might improve my own opinion of reporters. Byline nodded, unable to manage any other words. Nix turned to leave, shifting back into a smoky cloud before being followed into the sky by Pegasi officers. The crime scene began to close up. Ambulances from Manhattan Central Hospital began to arrive to transport the arrested ponies. Some of the onlookers began dispersing, but Byline and Shatter remained. When Byline finally managed to collect herself, she looked back at Sutter, who was standing with mouth agape. She just smiled, lowering herself down to the police barrier before putting a hoof onto his shoulder. So, do you still feel like I owe you a coffee and donut? Or you'd be satisfied with getting an exclusive interview and possibly landing the story of the year? I still want my coffee and donut, Sarah said, though the smile on his face was almost big as Byline's. And don't look so proud of yourself. You just got lucky. Hey, working hard means that you do get lucky. You really seize the opportunity. Variance end. What if the blessing came back? Oh, gee, and I thought this was, what if Nyx decided to become a heavy metalhead? Hey, it's a possibility. Now, you just do your Starfleet part. Right. Season 3, of course, begins normally, much like Season 3 of Starfleet did. The Sombra incident, the sharing of the crystals. But Nyx keeps having nightmares of a lone battle between her mother and a demon. Of some sort of mysterious entity that will fight her to the death. And she's not there to help, nor any of her friends. Nyx keeps trying to tell her mom about the dream. However, Twilight, having learned an important lesson once about not worrying about the future, tries to soothe her young daughter, to point out that she has had a vision of the future before, and she has learned not to worry so much about the future. And sometimes these dreams have alternate meanings. Still, Nyx worries, begins trying to investigate their dreams. This especially comes true to life when the fact that Celestia is beginning death threats comes to life, and when Celestial tells them to not investigate, Nyx is the only one who doesn't listen. And after much pleading and begging from her mother, okay, not really, Nyx just says, I don't believe him, and Twilight says, neither do I. They begin doing research, especially after Raven reveals her backstory. For Nyx has many of the same questions. Why didn't she use her unicorn magic to lift the wagon off her husband? Why did a bunch of guards ignore her when she herself knows Royal Guard protocol front and backwards? Why did a thief attack Celestia out in the middle of broad daylight when she was surrounded by guards? Why did Celestia herself go after a guard when she could have just easily had her guards do it? So many questions appear in the two's mind that they begin asking themselves these, even while everything else was going on around them. When that mysterious entity gave them all wishes, Nyx so was stuck. It was not Goldwyn who had to make that wish, but for Nyx herself, she began to wonder. Should she wish for her life to be changed? For all of Starfleet to be gone? Or for her mother to be all right? Nyx did not know for the longest time. But then she finally she realized what her wish was. So of course, nobody knew this. But she made one wish that nobody knew about. We'll talk about that wish in a bit. Time rolls on, as it does, and soon lightning of Starla's wedding comes into view. Everybody's talking, everybody's happy. Nyx is, of course, grumbling, because apparently Lightning decided not to invite her due to Grand Ruler's orders. But she wants to crash anyway. After all, her mother's gonna be there. That's, of course, when it gets crashed. And that's when Raven and the other guy, look, I don't really care about the rest of Sombra's mooks. I mean, come on. I kind of left him out for a reason. Appears with a maniacal laughter. They fight, and Nyx watches as Twilight's rage gets the better of her, and she tries to figure out why. Why would her mother do such an out of character, out of place thing when she knows her mother would never do that? She begs for somebody to go after her to protect her, but instead, all she gets from Starfleet is the same looks that she's always seen there in their eyes. Disapproving stares and hatred. She knows that look too well. She begs Twilight's friends to do it. And they, of course, get ready, but then Grand Ruler tells them to stop. She begs Rainbow Dash and Applejack to go out, but they growl as they're unable to do it. Luckily, Nyx is not a member of Starfleet. Not yet. She does race after him. Chases them across the field. and sees her mother in a battle. She smiles, thinking that her mom's gonna win this. Maybe her nightmare wouldn't come true. Then she watches as her mom freezes, and she knows instantaneously what that feeling is like. She had seen it before when other unicorns were captured and their magic was taken away. She knew what it was like. She remembered. It was, of course, a unicorn losing their magic. She screams helplessly as she watches Twilight being lifted off the ground by her throat and blasted. Lightning is the one who runs towards her, tries to cradle her, but Nyx pushes him out of the way, crying over her body. Mom, please. No, Mom. You told me to never worry about the future. You told me you'd be alright. Please, Mom. Get up. Wake up. Please. Mom. I don't want to be alone again. And for the briefest moment, Nyx could feel the thumping in her chest, the darkness overtaking her. And she cackles. The next reports of that day are that they found Lightning savagely beaten within an inch of his life, and that there was a insane cackling of a mare. Nyx disappears for a while. For the longest time, there are reports throughout Equestria of a lone nightmare, what appears to be Nightmare Moon, holding something to her body, perfectly preserved as always. At one point, when she's alone in a town, trying to drink away her sorrows. After all, there's a part of her that tells her, don't go into eternal night. Please, don't kill them. Don't hurt my friends. Don't hurt my mother's friends, please. We need to have something more. We need to do something else. It's not their fault. The nightmare first laughs at this. Laughs at that little voice. And after making sure that the body was perfectly buried, heads back to Ponyville one night, with a full attempt to kill all who are in there. But then she sees Pinkie crying, and realizes that it was not their fault. She sees Rainbow Dash punching a wall, and realizes it was not her fault. Rarity along with Spike wrapping his arms around her. Applejack working her hardest. And Fluttershy along with the monster that she has grown to hate. The nightmare shudders, wondering what it should do. Should it go back to being Nyx? No, the nightmare tells itself. Nyx was weak. Nyx had weak flesh. Nyx was a weak little girl who cried. Nyx was the one who did nothing to save her mother. She did not want to be that filly anymore. She wanted to be a nightmare. She wanted to give in to the corruption, much like she knew Lightning would, because she felt the same energy from him. Yes, the energy of what it meant to be an alicorn. The energy of what it meant to be a corrupted evil side. The energy of nightmare. It felt perfect for her. And she wanted nothing more than to just let that fool give in and take over. She just laughed as she walked away, wanting to find somewhere else. About a few weeks later, Nyx comes back. Everybody's, of course, happy to see her. She says she's fine. They ask if she knows where Twilight's body is. She says she doesn't. And she says that she just disappeared for a while. And that she has things to do. What they don't know is that she has finally learned to control the nightmare that was inside. My apologies. Why? Simple. Because she found a new friend. one that told her that it was okay to give in to her hate, that she could control who she was. Well, you see, one day, while the nightmare was traveling, she went to a bar where a lone mare sat, trying to drink away her sorrows, trying to forget her own problems. When she saw Nightmare, the first thing that mulberry unicorn did was laugh. You laugh at me. Why? Simple. When I thought I heard of Nightmare Moon traveling around this area, I believed to myself it wasn't a filly having a temper tantrum. Nightmare was shocked. Did this mulberry unicorn mock her? Yeah, I'm mocking you. What's he gonna do about it, Nightmare Moon? The small little town was once full of buildings, small little villages, huts, and such. After that insult, it was wiped off the map. The two became friends, and over time, she taught Nyx how to hold back her hatred, how to hold everything in, and to become Nyx once more. She was happy. Granted, that meant that the only way she could access her full alicorn powers was to let Nightmare Moon out. But this also meant she had a weapon. She had a way of stopping the pain, making sure nothing else bad ever happens again. Tempest? Yeah, Nyx? Do you think that there's a way to, bring Mom back? I don't know. From the sounds of the stories of your mothers, you knew how to pull off miracles. And she made sure Nightmare Moon was now nothing more than a small little girl. Maybe if you put a lot of effort into it, you can pull off that miracle too, kid. As Tempest began to walk away, Nyx asked, Wait, Tempest, could you maybe find a way to stay outside of Ponyville? I might need another friend. Tempest could only smirk and go, I don't normally like to live around towns, kid. But if you ever need me, call me. I'll be there. Oh, and Tempest! You're not alone. I'm your friend now. Don't forget it. Tempest could only smile. And because of Nyx's friendship, Tempest never joined Storm King in this timeline. Tempest goes on to being a bounty huntress. We'll see her in Season 4. But Nyx, after her return home, sees Lightning's wedding and helps everybody fight Sombra. And she also tries to warn Lightning of what his alicorn form really is. But Lightning Dawn, being who he was at the time, never listens. Nyx sighs, and as the season ends, she goes into the star-swirled bearded wing. After all, when she's Nightmare, no mere locks can hold her. Once there, she pulls out every single book by Star-Swirled Beard, Astor Casser, Mimic, and Clover the Clever, and yes, even Maze Meadowbrook and her 8 powerful items, to try to find every bit of information she can on how to bring back the dead. The season closes with that, as Dark King watches to prepare his ultimate assault. This has been Twilight of the Zone Cops, making her next report. Thank you.